day 2 of our polynomial review for our test tomorrow. So we are going to be doing a 2-question quiz today. The first question on our quiz, if I give you this polynomial, y equals x to the 4th minus 3x to the 3rd minus 9x squared plus 23x minus 12. From this polynomial, we want to graph the polynomial. And when we graph it, we want this to include the proper end behavior, the y-intercept, and the roots of our polynomial. For this polynomial, to get you started, I have a hint on where you should start. And your hint is this polynomial here, x is equal to 1, is one of its roots, and it has a multiplicity of 2. Because multiplicity is a word that we haven't used in since last week, who can tell me if I have x is equal to 1 as one of my roots? We know that you just write that as x minus 1. Who can tell me what I have to do to this if I know that x equals 1 has a multiplicity of 2? If you're not quite sure, yes, Owen. You square it, because all the multiplicity tells you is the exponent of one of your roots. Right? That is your hint for this problem. The second problem that I would like you to do is a box problem. So this is just the cardboard. If I laid out a piece of cardboard flat like this, and I know that the piece of cardboard has the dimensions of 5 inches by 12 inches, and I know that I want to cut out corners so that I'd be able to fold this into a box later. So if I'm cutting out these corners, I've decided that I want each of these cutout corners to be 1/2 of x. But I don't know what x is. So each of these sides are 1/2 x. So if this is true, what I want to know is that when I make this into a box, and I draw out this box here, I want the polynomial that represents the volume of this box as a function of x. And then I also want the domain for these values of x. Right? So you will have basically the period to do this, or as long as you need in order to do this. If you do have questions, you may ask questions, and you may do this with a partner if you would like. Right? So that's what we are going to be doing.
Put the first slide up?
Yes, so I will put the first slide up, and then the second slide is over on the right-hand side for you guys. So I will do that, and then I will pause the recording while we are working. Now that we've taken some time to look at both of these, looking at this first problem here, if we have x equals 1 is definitely one of our zeros, and it has a multiplicity of 2. Okay? What most people did was they said they took our polynomial from up here. They took this polynomial here, and they first divided it by x minus 1, and then they thought about it for a little bit, and then after they divided it by x minus 1, they divided it by x minus 1 again, because there are 2 x minus 1s that's going to show up in our polynomial when we have factored it out, right? So we know that at the end, we're going to end up with x minus 1 squared times something, right? If we have a polynomial of degree 4, because this is to the 4th power, how many roots total are we going to get? 4. 4th power, we're going to get 4 roots. We currently have 2 roots here. That means that whatever we have here is going to be some kind of x squared quadratic. right? So here's something that I saw other people doing, is they took that polynomial, one from up there, the x to the fourth minus 9x, or is it 3x? 3x squared minus 9x, or 3x cubed minus 9x squared plus 23x minus 12. And they said, all right, we know that an x minus 1 squared is going to be there. It's going to be inside of our polynomial somehow, right? So why don't we just multiply that out and say, all right, x minus 1 squared is the same thing as x squared minus 2x plus 1 when I FOIL it out. And then what if I just divide that by my polynomial? Then I only have to long divide once. I'm probably going to mess up less. And then I'm going to be able to figure out what my factor is at the end. Right? So if you did it the first way, where you just divided by x minus 1 twice, you can do that way. It might take you longer, but that is a possible way. This second way is also a way, and it'll take you a little bit shorter, but you will have to be more careful about powers and about your terms. So just quickly going through this. Let's see. I have some dice here. If I have dice here, row 3, person 5, can you tell me what the first factor we will need right here is for this problem? X squared here. All right. And I know that some of you aren't going to have this process, so we're just kind of making it up as we go along. But if we have an x squared, that'll give us an x to the fourth minus 2x to the third plus x squared. And then we have to take the opposite of each of those. And once we have done that, we end up with 0, negative x cubed, and negative 10x squared. Can you please call on somebody, Ava? Or would you like the dice? All right. If we roll the dice here, row 2, person 4. So, Emil, we're going to move this term down so that we have 3 terms to go with our 3 terms. But if we have x squared and we need to get to negative x cubed, what are we going to do? So we're going to multiply by negative x here. So we'll end up with negative x cubed.
Oh, yeah. Wait.
So I'm putting you on the spot here. So, yes, I'm asking, now we're at the negative 2x term.
Oh, yeah. Times the negative x
Plus 2x squared. Thank you. And then our last term? I know I put you on the spot. Thank you for that. Here we have 0. I forgot to take the opposites of each of these. Now that I've taken the opposite, we'll have 0. And we will have negative 12x squared. And we will have plus 24x. Emil, can you call on somebody, or would you like the dice? Dice. All right. Row 6, person 4. If we are currently at, we need our x squared to go into negative 12x squared, what should we multiply by? Negative 12 sounds good to me. So then our first term will be negative 12x squared. Can you tell me what negative 2x times our negative 12x would give us? Plus 24x. All right. And then we forgot to drag this term down here. So we'll have a negative 12 at the end. So we have 3 terms to go with our 3 terms. And then we'll have 1 times negative 12, which is just negative 12. And if we take the opposites of each of these, we will end up with just 0. So we know that our polynomial at the end here will be x squared minus x minus 12. So we'll have our x minus 1 squared times our x squared minus x minus 12. And if we have that, what are we going to break that into for our 2 factors? What do you think, Franny? 2 factors from this? X plus 3 and x minus 4 sounds good to me. So then those are the roots that we get. Once we have those roots, we know that we have a +4, we have a -3, and we have a +1. Franny, can you choose someone to tell us which ones bounce and which ones cross? Or you can use the dice. Maddie? Which of these bounces?
Bounce cross.
All right, so we're going to bounce here. So then the rest will cross here. Can you call on someone to tell us what the end behavior will look like? Yes. Up and up. So here, we just have a W. And there's one more piece of information we did need. Abby, can you call on somebody to tell us this last piece of information? What is the last piece of information we need? We have end behavior. We have the x-intercepts. We need the y-intercept. So here we have -12 is our y-intercept there. Thank you very much. All right? And that is what this first problem gives us. I will just tell you now, this first problem is basically a compilation or is a harder version of anything that you will see on the test. Okay? It is harder than what you'll see on the test. Great. Next problem. Can we do this one really quick? All right. For this problem, Quinn, can you call on someone to tell us what one of the dimensions of our box will be? Yeah, so just right here, what did you put here for the dimension of the box?
That dimension would be 5 minus x.
5 minus x. Thank you. Shepard, can you call in somebody else to tell me another dimension of the box? All right. Which dimension are you going to give us? Okay. This will be 12 minus x. All right. And Amila, can you give us, call on someone else? 1/2 x. All right. So then, if we are looking for our velocity, all you have to do is just multiply these three sides, right? And you'll end up with, did I say velocity? I meant volume. Slipped into physics there for a second. My bad. All right, if we are looking for the volume, we just multiply these three values. So we have 1/2 x times 5 minus x times 12 minus x. On the test, if they tell you to give this in factored form, you're done. If they tell you to give this in general form, you'll need to multiply this out. All right? We will not take the time to multiply it out here, but all you'd have to do is just distribute, FOIL these out, and then make sure at the end, and only at the end, you multiply the 1/2 x in. All right? If you do this, I believe you end up with 30x minus 17/2 x squared plus 1/2 x cubed, I believe is what you end up with at the end. All right, last thing here is domain. You could have gotten the domain in very many ways. Can someone volunteer and tell me how they thought about finding the domain? Or one part of our domain, at least. What do you think? Owen?
First of all, we can't have it has to, or one of the points has to be 0.
So exclusive at 0 because we can't have negative values, because what will happen to our height if we have a negative x value? We'll have a negative height, and that would be something that went horribly awry in our box making. All right?
Then, so for the smaller side, the domain is 0 to 5. But it's kind of, the way to explain it. So if you add, so that goes to 1/2 x at the bottom.
Yep.
Right? So if you have to look at another x. And it's like, you gotta x to x. This is so hard to explain. X, it's like x can't be greater than 5 because on the bottom.
Yes, I get what you're saying. So basically, if we look here, we said that this dimension here was 5 minus x, right? If you had a number that was greater than 5 for your x value, what would happen to your box there? You would have a negative side. Can you have a negative side on a box? You cannot. So in this case, this x value, because of this dimension here, tells you that x has to be less than 5. Therefore, the top part of your domain is 5 exclusive. All right? Good work today on these two. We went through them. I think that, did you guys benefit from that? Okay. I don't think we need to grade it then and make it a quiz. As long as you've benefited from it, it's good enough for me. All right. Thank you, everyone. And that is all that we are going to do today.